I am going to do the COVID statement before we do the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening. We greatly appreciate our staff, council, and residents adopting various city staff. I got feedback, sorry. Format due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Tonight's meeting will be held under Minnesota State Statute 13D.021 that permits a public body to hold a meeting via telephone or other electronic means due to the COVID-19 pandemic. For members of the public, the meeting is being live streamed on the City of Wyoming YouTube page. The Wyoming City Council meeting will be recorded as part of the public record. After each agenda item as read and staff gives a report on the agenda item, I will call upon each council member individually if they have questions on that particular item. If you wish to make a motion or second a motion, please state your first name. All votes on all items will be completed by a roll call to meet the standard for the state statute 13D.021. Thank you very much. And I am going to ask one more quick favor. I was asked by a resident who does watch these, if everybody could just, if you have a camera, to quick turn them on. So our audience, you don't have to keep them on the whole meeting. They just kind of want to see everybody instead of just a name. So if you can, just quick turn on your cameras. Give a big smile out to everybody if possible. Let's see who we got.
Well, Mayor, I do believe that the YouTube video is a speaker view. So unless someone is talking, I don't think that they're head pops. So I don't know, Rob, if you can confirm that or not, but I think that's how it goes.
I know we've had some people that have viewed it who's like, I want to see who everybody is on there. So that was kind of their comment to me. So if you can, that would be great. Just to give a quick wave.
My camera isn't working.
It's not working today? Okay, thanks, Councilmember Yeager. Fred, I know you don't. Joe, you don't.
Nope.
Mr. Almdell, you don't. Mr.
Nope.
Lobenmeyer, I see you, who is Planning Commission. So he's in the far corner. All right, we'll go ahead and get started then. And we're gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance. As you can see, we do have the flag in the background. I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
And
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, open forum. Mr. Linwood, I don't believe we've had anybody who submitted anything.
We did not have any submissions for open forum, Mayor.
Okay, perfect. We're going to move on to number 1 on our agenda, approval of minutes. Consider approving the minutes of the regular meeting of the Wyoming Minnesota City Council for June 16th, 2020. If there are no comments, questions, or changes, do we have a motion to approve?
So move. Councilmember Zerwas.
We have a member to approve by Member Zerwas. Do we have a second?
Member Lugar will second.
We have a second by Member Lugar. I'll go around the room. Member Lugar?
Aye.
Member Zerwas?
Aye.
Member Yeager?
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is aye. It does pass. Consent agenda 2, 3, 4, and 5. Does anyone wish to pull an item from the consent agenda for further discussion? If there are no questions or further discussion, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Lugar. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Member Zerwas. I'll go around the room. Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Lugar.
Aye.
Member Yeager.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is aye. Those do pass. We'll move on to reports from officer boards, commissions, and department heads. That would be agenda number 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Does anybody wish to pull an item from the reports for further discussion? If there are none, we'll go ahead and move on to new business, number 11 on our agenda. Number 11 is to consider resolution 20-07-60, a resolution to approve an agreement for the joint administration of financial assurance for the Woods of Comfort Lake between the Comfort Lake Forest Lake Watershed District and the City of Wyoming. And we are on, if you're following along in your packets, we're on page 53. Mr. Linwood, you're going to start us off on this?
Yes, Mayor, members of council. This is a resolution that would approve agreement between the Comfort Lake Forest Lake Watershed District and the City of Wyoming. This is similar. All of you may remember we did a very similar financial assurance agreement with the Woods of Comfort Lake back in 2017. Essentially, what the assurance does is it ensures that if the developer is not following the standards for those stormwater facilities and they're constructed appropriately, that both the city and Comfort Lake Forest Lake Watershed District have the ability to come in and access that letter of credit jointly if they agree upon it, to ensure that the completion of those stormwater structures are done correctly. So this is something that we'll be doing this jointly on this item, and it's really just a way that we continue to try to work in good faith with the watershed to ensure that these subdivisions are being completed in ways that when they're in that watershed district, that they're done appropriately. So this goes through a normal agreement as last time, and goes through some of our legal as far as our identification and hold harmless items. And then it has been reviewed by our city attorney, Lunan. And with that, we'll stand for any questions.
Great. Mr. Linwood and Mr. Weck, I don't know who wants to answer this question, but it seems to me that a lot of this was already in the application that we would have to approve as a city anyways, correct? In terms of stormwater management?
Correct. Fred, I can start. Correct. I mean, this is the standard as far as that letter of credit identifies that necessary balance to ensure that those stormwater structures are constructed appropriately for the duration of that development, and that we'll take care of those. So this would be essentially any kind of normal development agreement that we have. Those items are in there, but this is just for that component of the letter of credit that we'll be jointly administering it for financial assurance.
Okay, and I guess my follow-up question to that is, as the development goes along and as we come to the end, we're going to also have to make sure that that's all there. And I guess the point that I'm getting to is this seems like one extra hoop that the developer had to go through in order to get this taken care of. So my question is this: a lot of this is all standard, correct? And so it just seemed like it was one more step, even though we know as a city that we're going to have to have all of the stormwater construction taken care of, and we're watching for it and all that, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Correct.
I think Fred, I don't know if you want, I can start again. This is, since we did that agreement and this permit through the watershed, they have requested the city that they be inclusionary on these. The financial assurance is to ensure that all those are done correctly. We've never had any issues in the past, but it's just another component of this to work with the watershed to ensure that all of those stormwater structures are created appropriately, and that the development everything is being done correctly through that development process and all those information.
And Mayor Iverson, this is Attorney Luna. If I'll just elaborate just for a moment, the reason for this agreement specifically, the city has the letter of credit that we require as part of the development and as assurance on the development. The watershed district issues its own permit to the developer as well, and as part of their permit, they also require certain financial assurances. And so we enter into this agreement so that the developer doesn't have to get two separate letter of credits, that it's a joint assurance. We have first authority on the letter. They have to meet our requirements. Generally, our requirements and the watershed requirements are going to be the same, but this just makes it easier so the developer doesn't have to get two separate letter of credits. The one letter of credit will suffice for both permits and both requirements there.
Perfect. And so we need to make sure that if we all agree that this does pass and so that development can go, because otherwise this is kind of the last piece that's holding up the development, the start, correct?
They
Mr.
are, they're ready to start today. So once this is passed, this is the final component, and then they'll be able to receive their permit from the watershed. So it sounds like they're going to start Thursday. So.
Perfect. Mr. Erickson, you had a comment?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I was just going to provide that update that Mr. Linwood had provided. The contractor is ready to start construction. They will start as soon as the watershed district issues the permit, and that permit is contingent upon the action that's before you this evening for approval of this item. Mr. Lunan is correct as well. I was going to comment on that as well. The letter of credit in some ways is a benefit to the developer, that they don't have to provide not just two letters of credit, but really, we have a letter of credit for the improvements. The watershed district wants one. And so it would really be not just two letter of credits, but it's also a larger value as well. And so in that term, in that case, it's certainly a benefit to the developer not to have provided really a larger letter of credit. And so we feel that this is certainly a good thing to move forward with. We're a little, I think we like to have control and think that there's a little bit of trust there, but we definitely want to make sure that we continue to work on that relationship with the watershed district and implement what they need, and feel that we can do this in an effective way and keep that letter of credit down for the developer.
Perfect. That's all my questions I have. Anyone else? All right, if there are no further questions, we need a motion to approve resolution 20-07-60, a resolution to approve an agreement for the joint administration of financial assurance for the Woods of Comfort Lake between the Comfort Lake Forest Lake Watershed District and the City of Wyoming. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved, Member Zerwas.
Okay. We have a motion to approve by Member Zerwas. Do we have a second by Member Luger? I think I heard you say.
Second, sure.
Second from Member Luger. All right, around the room, please. Member Yeager,
Aye.
Member Zeros,
Aye.
Member Luger,
Aye.
Member Iverson is an aye. Mayor Iverson is an aye. So approved, and looking forward to having that new development in our city. So that'll be a very nice development that we have. Number 12, to consider resolution 20-07-61, a resolution approving the preliminary plat of subdivision D-20-003 and D-20-004, Ivansky 1, Arthur Butch Jensky, located at 24810 Hazel Avenue. Property ID number 21.10708.00. Mr. Weck, are you going to start us off on this one?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor and council members, this will also tie into, or my report will tie into item number 13, the final plat for Ivansky 1. Mr. Jeske is looking to subdivide his property into two separate parcels, one with the home that's currently on it, and then a new parcel for a future single-family dwelling. The Planning Commission held a public hearing. The only public comment was from an adjacent property owner, just wanted making sure that his property wasn't used to gain access to Mr. Jeske's new parcel, and that is not an issue. The Planning Commission is recommending approval of both the final plat, the preliminary plat, and the final plat, with one condition, and that condition being that the I'm sorry, wrong folder. Being that the wetland delineation is accepted and that the elevation of the wetland edge be added to the preliminary plat drawing. This morning, the wetland delineation was approved, so that item has been accepted or has been completed, and as soon as the plat is approved, his surveyor will be doing the elevation of the wetland edge, because that was a part of the wetland delineation. That edge actually was moved to make the wetland smaller. So that final elevation should be known in the next day or two. But again, the City Council, or the Planning Commission, is recommending to the City Council approval of both the preliminary plat and the final plat.
All right, questions from council? No questions by council, then we will need a motion to approve. I'm not going to read it all. motion to approve resolution 20-07-61, a resolution approving the preliminary plat of subdivision D.20-003 and D-20-004. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by member Luker. Do we have a second? Mayor Iverson will second that, and we'll go around the room. Member Yeager,
Aye.
member Zeros,
Aye.
member Luker,
Aye.
and Mayor Iverson is an aye. That does pass. Resolution number 13, agenda item number 13, to consider resolution 20-07-62, a resolution approving the final plat of Ivanski 1 at 24810 Hazel Avenue, property identification number 21.10708.00. Mr. Black, you pretty much just went into it, so anything else you'd like to add?
No, Madam Mayor.
All right, if there are no questions for agenda item number 13, resolution of 20-07-62, we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Member Zeros approves. Mayor Iverson will second. I'll go around the room. Member Luger,
Aye.
member Yeager,
Aye.
member Zeros,
Aye.
and Mayor Iverson is an aye. That does pass. We're very excited to have that happen for Mr. Jeske. Number 14 on the agenda, and that is on page 78, if you're following along, to consider resolution 20-07-63, a resolution approving the final plat of subdivision D-20-002, Adlin West, Harry Adlin, located at property ID number 21.10387.00. Mr. Weck?
Yes, Madam Mayor and council members. Mr. Adland is looking for final plat approval of just one of the lots of his Adland West subdivision, which consists of 15 lots. The other remaining 14 lots will become that outlot A you see on your screen. They will need final plat approval in the future in order to be created. There were a number of conditions with the preliminary plat. The majority of them had to do with engineering. The engineering drawings have been approved. Other conditions had to do with permits from other outside agencies. Since there are no improvements with the one lot, those don't apply to this lot. And the same also with the development agreement and the construction surety, because again, he won't be creating any improvements with this lot. The two remaining conditions, one, that all the wells on the property be addressed, and those were sealed, and the city does have copies of the well sealing records. And the other one, any bylaws or property owners associations or articles of incorporation be approved by the city attorney. At this time, they do not have any. The city is reminding Mr. Adlin that those would need to be done and include this lot in order for that lot to be a part of that. So the Planning Commission is recommending approval of the final plat of Adlin West, and with no conditions applying to it.
All right. So are there any questions by council? There are no questions by council, so we need a motion to approve resolution 20-07-63, a resolution approving the final plat of subdivision D-20-002. Do we have a motion to approve? Oh, I'm sorry. We need the first motion, please.
So moved.
All right, we have member Luker with that first. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by member Zeros. I'll go around the room. Member Yeager,
Aye.
member Zeros,
Aye.
member Luker,
Aye.
and Mayor Iverson is an aye. So it looks like that's all approved, and I believe I saw Mr. Adlin on with us. Congratulations. It looks like you're pretty doggone close.
Okay, thank you very much.
We look forward to it. Thank you. Number 15, to consider the recommendation of the Wyoming Planning Commission to authorize a proposal for WSB and Associates for the 2020 comp plan update in the amount of $8,700. And Mr. Wecker, are you going to do this or Mr. Erickson? I'm not sure who's going to.
I will.
Okay.
I will, Madam Mayor. Mr. Erickson said he didn't want to.
Oh, thanks, Mark. I'll get him later.
But he actually isn't really involved with it. So the Planning Commission has been working on the comp plan for a while, and in order to finish it, we're asking the FWSB to give us a proposal to complete what needs to be done, and then and create what they call story maps, which would be a map that someone looking at the comp plan could touch on click on a part of the map and get information about that area. So the initial one would be the land use, and then there'd be some additional ones that could be added for the transportation, utilities, stormwater, et cetera. The first map would be $2,500. Each additional map would be $2,150. Those additional maps wouldn't be needed necessarily right away, but it would be a good way for the city to market to future developers as to what is available and where it is. Currently, I have $7,500 in the budget. The proposal is for $8,700. I don't expect that this will be finished by this year, and we're looking at budgeting the remainder for the 2021 budget. So again, the Planning Commission is recommending approval or to enter into this contract with WSB to complete the comp plan update.
So I'd like to start with this, seeing that I'm the liaison on the Planning Commission. And I have to say the storyboard part of it is very exciting. And to have WSB help us with this, we have been working on it for a really long time. The storyboard part is exciting for the fact that everybody is going digital. Every city is going digital. If you think about the world itself, everybody's clicking on websites first instead of calling City Hall. Being able to virtually see trees, which is something we talked about at the PAC meeting just yesterday. There's some programs with that. And then really for the developers to come in and see what we're all about. So I'm in favor of this because I really believe it continues on our goals to be in the 21st century and making it easy for residents, future development, and people who just want to see what the city of Wyoming is. It really puts us right there where we should be in this day and age. So I'm all in favor for it. With that, I will, any other council member who has any questions regarding this?
Linda has a question.
Okay, member Yeager has a question.
Okay, how many additional story maps do you anticipate having? The contract calls for one. Do you plan on having more?
I think the planning, Ms. Yeager, I think the Planning Commission is looking at getting the first storyboard or story map done, and then evaluating whether we'll do any more in the future, how that works out. I think our main thrust is to get the land use map done. Those other parts, although peripheral to the comp plan, are also probably more needed for, say, Public Works and the Park Board and those type of, and the EDA for their kind of marketing. So we're hoping, again, maybe to distribute some of those costs around to whichever city department needs a map to show what they're trying to provide for services.
Okay, because I asked because if we're over budget now and we're going to budget the remainder in 2021, we should be budgeting additional story maps if they're required.
That's what the plan is.
Okay. And how much has the city spent so far on this comp plan update?
I do not have an answer for you at this time.
Yeah,
I
I don't
know
have a we'd have to look up a number. I know that the first time around that there was some extra due diligence was added the first time we did it due to some questions from the planning commission at that time, but we'd have to pull together for I guess consulting fees, what we have into the entirety of the plan up to this point, but we could look into that and provide council with a number.
Okay, I'd appreciate if you would.
Okay.
And would this be the last expense for the comp plan update?
I certainly hope so, ma'am.
Okay.
But when Mr. Linwood talked about the additional expenses that we had, that was when Councilmember Waller was still on the city council, and he brought up some very valid points on wanting to know, what sewer and water capabilities are in the areas that we're looking at for future development. And that wasn't a part of the original bid price, and we did need to cover the expenses to find that out. So that was where a lot of our comp plan money went, was doing that. It was definitely a needed part, but it was a part that initially wasn't thought of.
Right, now I was just curious
Yes,
how much I know we had spent previously. I was curious about how much, and if hopefully this is the end of it and then we have a nice comp plan.
All right,
Agreed.
are there any further questions? All right, if not, then I do see we do have the Planning Commission chair is actually on our meeting. Mr. Lobemeyer, is there anything that you would like to say to council before we vote?
Thank you, Mayor. We've had a chance to go through the proposal, and I do believe that starting with one story map, but probably once you see that, there will be interest in another story map. The commission discussed the potential of rearranging a little bit of the proposal such that rather than having independent meetings, we might do a combined workshop with the council and the EDA. We think all three groups really benefit from a joint discussion. That might save a little money and then allow us to be able to add a story map a little sooner than later. So that would be our hope as well.
All right, thank you very much. If there are no further questions, then we need a motion to approve the Wyoming Planning Commission recommendation of the Wyoming Planning Commission to authorize a proposal from WSB and Associates for the 2020 comp plan update in the amount of $8,700.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by member Zeros. Do we have a second?
Member Luger will second.
We have a second by member Luger. Around the room, please. Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Zeros.
Aye.
Member Luger.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is aye. It does pass, and I'm looking forward to moving that forward, right, Chair Lobemeyer?
Great, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, number 16 on our agenda, to consider resolution 20-07-64, a resolution approving a paving patch maintenance project to be completed by Interstate Companies in the amount of $56,925. Mr. Amjad, will you be taking this?
Yes, Madam Mayor. So good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members. As part of our 2020 street maintenance, Public Works is recommending large pavement patching to parts of Finley Avenue and 264th Street. These two streets have been routinely spot patched for years, and they have deteriorated to the point that small pavement patching is not efficient. These two streets will not be addressed in the CIP within 5 years. The large patching should last 7 to 10 years and will give the city the time to complete the work that is being scheduled as part of the 5-year CIP projects. So Public Works obtained 3 quotes, and Interstate Companies was the lowest bid at $56,925. The project would be financed out of the street maintenance CIP account. Staff recommends awarding Interstate Companies for blacktop patching of Finley Avenue and 264th Street in the amount of $56,925.
All right, thank you, Mr. Amjad. And do we have questions from council?
Yes, Member Nanko Yeager has a question. In the materials in my packet, it also contains a estimate for repaving the bike path on Railroad Park for $47.95.
Yes, Councilman Yeager, that is under the $10,000 purchasing policy amount, and I shouldn't be in the packet. I had accidentally made a mistake there, but that is the estimate. And if the blacktop project is awarded tonight, we will have them do Railroad Park, and that will be the dollar amount.
Okay, cool. And there's also an $11,315 overlay for roundabout to corner.
Yeah, them are just rough estimate numbers for future projects. Are you talking about the estimate from that? It was a higher bid from?
No, it wasn't a higher bid. It was, yeah. All right, this is for under interstate
Yep.
and 2020 street repairs, full width overlay from the roundabout to corner.
Yeah, I don't have that on me right here. I don't understand what you're looking at, ma'am. I got full width overlay down to corner.
Yeah, I saw that up top. This one is under the proposal for Railroad Park. In my packet, you scroll down and it's 2020 street repairs, overlay from the roundabout to corner, but it doesn't give a street number, a name. It just says it's going to cost $11,315.
Oh, okay. That is bulb or backstop behind the car wash. Again, we're just getting rough numbers for future projects. That was from the corner there to the cul-de-sac by the Railroad Park. It's not
Okay,
completed this year. It was just to get numbers. Sorry about that. I should have
okay,
cleaned
just
up.
curious. Okay, that was it.
All right, thank you.
All right, are there any other questions? If not, on agenda item number 16, we need a resolution 20-0764, a resolution approving a paving patch maintenance project to be completed by interstate companies in the amount of $56,925.
So moved.
We have our first by member Zerwas. Do we have a second?
Member Luger will second.
All right, member Luker is second. Around the room, please. Member Yeager,
Aye,
member Zerwas,
Aye.
member Luker,
Aye.
and Mayor Iverson is an aye, so it does pass. Number 17, to consider resolution 20-0765, a resolution approving a 2020 street striping project to be completed by Sir Lines a Lot in the amount of $15,005.45. Mr. Umgeld.
Yes, Mayor, this is the last part of the 2020 street maintenance is the line striping. Public Works would like to stripe the streets annually from now on. We obtained 3 quotes for striping of East Viking, Fallbrook, Kettle River, 257th, 250th, Greenway, Goodview, and Pioneer. But 4 of these streets still have epoxy paint on them, and they will not be restriped this year. They are parts of East Viking, 250th, Goodview, and Pioneer. As this is the first year we have ever obtained estimates for this, we included all the streets for quantity footage. We can estimate that the actual amount will be closer to $10,000 amount. So we included all the streets for reference in the future, but we wanted to make sure that we don't know that it's going to be under 10,000. So we included everything so you could see. And without a measuring wheel for large areas, it'd be very hard to get exact numbers of the linear feet. So Sir Lines a Lot was the low bidder for all the streets indicated. They understand that it's our first year of annual striping, and they'll adjust the invoice according to the linear feet that the truck measures. The estimate was $15,005.45. These finances, again, will come out of the street maintenance CIP account. So staff is recommending awarding Sir Lancelot the 2020 street paving at a price not to exceed $15,005.45.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any questions from council? All right, if there are no questions from council, we need a motion to approve resolution 20-07-65, a resolution approving the 2020 street striping project to be completed by Sir Lancelot in the amount of $15,005.45. And Member Yeager, we haven't heard from you yet tonight. Do you want to make that first motion?
Oh, that's fine. I'll make the motion.
Perfect. And do we have a second?
Member Luger will second.
Member Luger is a second. We'll go around the room. Member Ziros.
Aye.
Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Luger.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is an aye. So we're looking forward to seeing the new striping on our roads. Number 18, to review and discuss the proposed draft railroad park plan for public review and comments. That'll be by Ms. Dumas. And Ms. Dumas, I gotta say, I love your new background.
I did just for you, Mayor.
It looks great. All right, you're on.
Great. Thank you so much, Mayor, members of council. I'm here to bring you the proposed draft park plan that we had WSB put together for us. I believe we had that issued back in May. They've brought forth a proposal for Railroad Park, and I'll go ahead and share my screen so that we can all see it. Or Rob, it looks like you have to pull it up. It's not coming on my screen. So the proposed plan, what we brought to WSB was a request to create a park on the corner of East Viking and Forest Boulevard on Railroad Park that really pulls people into that park space, and has three main components that we heard. So the first is that that component of really bringing people into the park and creating a really beautiful landscape and space for people. The second is to include a veterans memorial. And the third is to have a history walk as a part of that proposed plan. So you can see here that the bottom half of the circle, that is the proposed veterans memorial site. And the top half of the circle, that path would be the proposed history walk. These three components have a variety of different ways that they can really be expressed. And one of the steps that we look to taking next is to bring this plan, if the city council approves it, to the public and get some more feedback on the different components to see if there's variations that the community really would like to see here, or specifics about what do they want the history walk to look like, or how do we want to really set up the Veterans Memorial. Those are some questions that we would really look to getting some more community engagement on. This site, as you can, I already pointed out the history walk and the Veterans Memorial. Some things, other things to point out. There is the pine tree in the center half circle. That is the existing tree that's in Railroad Park that we currently use for the tree lighting ceremony. So this plan would continue to have that tree and use it for that purpose in the park. It also has a series of benches along the top edge of the circle that you can see. And then the semicircle with that tree lighting tree actually serves as a bench as well. That's a raised wall. So people can sit there, rest, and observe the memorial as well. You can also see that we have this plan includes the current plan that we're putting, or trail that we're putting in Railroad Park, the bike spur, where you have the drinking fountain and bike repair station are also located on this plan as well. The last feature I want to point out, in the corner, right by the street, there's a proposed kiosk that has park and trail map of how to get around the city. There's a couple other examples of what that might look like in the packet for reference of what options there are. And I think this is a really good example of what some of the conversation about community engagement might look at, is really what do these different specific features look like, and how do we want to personalize them to really the needs of the Wyoming community. So looking at this plan, as there's three real critical pieces to it, we broke down the plan into three different phases. So you can see here, actually the phase C would come first in the chronological development of the park. That's really the site work and putting together the landscaping and the trails to really have the kind of bones of the park put together. And then the two other components, the Veterans Memorial and the History Walk, those are the phase A and B on here that would have a little bit more specification based on community engagement and feedback. And that is what I have for you. I stand for questions.
All right.
I did have one other thing to add. This was presented to the Park Advisory last night, and the Park Advisory Commission had very positive comments about this. They're very excited about what this plan could really create in the community. They were excited about the prominence of the Veterans Memorial and making sure that that was something that was really visible upon the entry into the park. And they were excited about this is a real gathering space with the stage that's located in the center there, and possibly having people come for picnics and what any other activities. This would be a great space for that. So I did want to share that with you all.
Awesome. Thank you. Great presentation. All right. Questions from council?
I have one. Linda has a question.
All right. Member Yeager.
Okay, the trees on the top, will that be adjacent to the tank farm?
Yes.
Okay, in the past, when you're walking down the bike trail, you notice that half the tree is kind of dead that faces the tank. How will that be handled?
That's a really great point. And I think one of the things that the Park Advisory Commission is looking at with their tree board program and trying to look at how are we really maintaining the infrastructure and the trees in our community, that's a priority there. And so that's the type of question of how are we maintaining that? Are there practices that we can shift to make sure that when we're investing in landscaping, that it's really maintained optimally?
Okay, because I don't know if it's as much maintaining a tree as the evergreens tend to die because of the gas leaking out of the tanks. So,
Mr. Linwood, can you address that, please? I don't know if we've had any studies of gas leaking out of the tanks.
I'm not aware of any potential propane spills on that site.
I wasn't talking propane spills. Just walk down. The next time you're walking down the bike path, look at the evergreens. Half of them are nice and green. The part that's facing the bike path is evergreen. The part that's facing the faces the tank farm is dead.
Okay.
And so just a concern about what happens if we're planting trees at that northern border for screening. In the past, we talked about perhaps building a wall or some kind of, to keep whatever is killing the trees back in the tank farm. I wasn't mentioning propane spills or anything, but something obviously is not detrimental to vegetation.
Sure. I think that's a component that we could look at for this design. I guess feedback for this to look at some sort of more permanent screening, maybe along with the trees. I know that was discussed once before, and I think there was some feedback that sometimes the trees overgrow into a fence area, but in some brief conversations, nothing imminent, but the new property owner there has suggested that they would be adding some trees to that northern city property or their southern property line of some additional trees for screening. But I think we'd want to look at that potentially to look at what we can do there to screen that, whether it's a fence or additional trees. I think that's a component of the plan that can definitely be brought up as we continue to discuss this draft plan.
Okay. Then the other question I had This is a very nice plan. How are we going to pay for it?
That was one of the pieces of conversation that the Park Advisory Board discussed last night, that there's a lot of opportunities in this to pursue external funding with the trail component, as well as potential art, history, or veterans grants, that those might all be potential grant opportunities to pursue for this project. Beyond that, again, it kind of comes back to the city council about what level of investment the council is interested in making in park facilities. And I mean, if the city council wanted to fund the whole thing in 1 year, that's your prerogative. If you want to spread it out over a course of a certain amount of years, that's also possible. So it really depends on what type of investment the city council is interested in making.
Whatever, thank you.
All right. Member Luker, do you have anything to add?
Not really. Ms. Dumas did a fantastic job of kind of recapping the conversation at the Park Advisory Commission meeting last night. I think it's a beautiful plan. I'm very excited to see, you know, as we go step by step through this process and the different phases of it. So I appreciate all the work that WSB has put into it, and as well as city staff.
Thank you. Member Zerwas, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I do have a comment. I just hope this project goes moving forward. It's badly needed.
Yeah, I agree. I have a few things to say about this. This has been on my agenda for the city for a really long time, even before mayor, for us to recognize our veterans and not having something that's appropriate for them. I have always felt that we needed that here in our city. So seeing this concept drawing is amazing, and it feels like we're finally moving forward with this. And then also having that history walk. I had a conversation with one of our residents last night who's over on Kettle River, and we had a great conversation about the different farms and what was in the Cornerstone building, things that I didn't even know about. And then of course we had some chuckles about, you know, some of the stores that were in town that are no longer there. So having that history walk, I think is going to be great, and a stage in there is wonderful. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Dumas, several of us already raised our hands to buy some pavers, right? Yes. So we were excited about that. And then there was another resident who actually has really been with me on the beginning of this a couple years ago when we did a presentation. Rick, he's already reached out to some people, and they're very excited about it. He did tell me that those flagpoles actually can get donated. So there's a cost savings. And there was a couple other people that have already stepped up to say that if there were benches, they would definitely donate some benches and stuff. So I really feel there's a huge buy-in for this. And just as you come into our city to see this amazing park and this memorial to our veterans, I can't think of a better way for people to really see what our community is all about. So just kudos to the Park Advisory Commission, to WSB, and to everybody that's really started working on this. It's going to be a great addition if we get to see it all the way through. So those are my, that's my 2-minute speech on this, but I get goosebumps when I see it. So
I have one more question. Linda has one more question.
Member Yeager?
With the planning for this park, how is it going to work alongside the renovations for Swenson Park?
They're not connected in the planning efforts or the construction efforts. So Swenson Park, we are planning to get the final approval for that park September 21st for the go-ahead to start construction. And we're planning for construction to go into 2021. In terms of this park, we'll be continuing community engagement efforts, and there's possibility as part of the budget discussions also to move forward with whatever parts of the plan that the council is interested in next year.
Okay, I was just, I mean, does the Park Advisory Commission, are they going to be talking about this concurrently during their meetings? Will
They
it both be agenda items?
Correct. They will both be items that the Park Advisory Commission is reviewing, but they are considered separate projects at this time.
Right, it's just, if you make, you know, I was just wondering if you could do one major project, will they have time to do a second major project at the same time?
Well, this is Mayor Iverson, I do believe that this part that we're talking about currently, Railroad Park, this is going to be a major undertaking. It's not going to be 1 year, 2 years, probably not even 3 years or 4 years. It's going to take a while to kind of make sure we get this done and get it done right. So I think that, Member Lugar can probably say to this as well, as long as Ms. Dumas, that their main focus is going to be on Swenson Park and getting that done. And then as these plans come along for this, I do know that there are funds that can be available through the state, some state funding, and we all know that that can take a while to get processed through. So I don't think anybody is saying that this is going to be done in the next year or two.
Mayor, if I could, I think the other component of this in regards to the Swenson Park project, I think that's we're in the draft process of this Railroad Park right now, where the Swenson Park project is something that both the Park Advisory Commission and the City Council has signed off for in regards to that plan to WSB, and that plan has been submitted to the DNR for that federal grant and is accepted as that plan is presented. So really the portion of that as far as the construction and the administration of that grant at this point in time is really a staff level item, other than updating the, excuse me, other than updating the Park Advisory Commission, the City Council as we progress on that design, but that design is done.
Okay. And staff has plenty of time will be able to get all Swenson constructed and then work on Railroad.
We'll have to, there is a staff time component to administer that grant, that to making sure that those, all the funds and different bills are itemized for, but in regards to this plan as well, I think, you know, this will probably not be an immediate project side by side. That there'll be more of a duration to this, and trying to just start with that, as Ms. Dumas indicated, to start with that portion of that site work and utility work, and move forward, and we'll, you know, progress as funding's available on this second project. So probably not nearly as quickly, obviously, as that at Swenson Park, where the funds are procured, and we'll be moving on that one pretty much as fast as it can be done once we have that final say, as Ms. Dumas indicated, on September 21st.
Okay.
All right. So Mr. Lunan, do we need to vote on this, or it was more for discussion?
The request for a recommendation from the council is to approve the plan to be presented as a part of community engagement efforts.
Perfect. All right. So we need a motion to approve the proposed draft Railroad Park plan for public review and comment. I will be the first one to make that motion. We need a second.
I'll second.
We have a second by Member Lugar. Around the room, please. Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Lugar.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is aye. So I'm looking forward to those public engagement meetings. Number 19, to consider changing the August 5th, 2020 council meeting back to the normal meeting night of August 4th, 2020, due to the cancellation of National Night Out. Mr. Linwood.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of council, this item is before you. As Chief Hoppy has made you aware, we will be canceling our National Night Out activities due to the COVID-19 pandemic. With that being said, at our initial meeting in January, we moved our normally scheduled Tuesday night meeting to Wednesday, and with the event not going on, we're asking the council if they would like to put that meeting back on its normal scheduled date of Tuesday, August 4th.
Right, any questions from council? August 4th work for everybody instead of the 5th? I'm seeing some shaking.
Be fine
of
with
the-
me.
Perfect. All right. So if I can have someone motion to approve the change from August 5th to August 4th, that would be great.
So moved.
We have a first by member Luker. Do we have a second by member Zerwas?
Yes.
We have a second by member Zerwas. Around the room, please. Member Yeager,
Aye.
member Zerwas,
Aye.
member Luger,
Aye.
and Mayor Iverson. It does pass. We'll be seeing everybody on the 4th instead of the 5th. Although I know that seeing many comments from residents with the cancellation of National Night Out, it's going to be missed. So we feel kind of bad for that as a community. Number 20, this is on our amended agenda, to consider the resignation of Allison Steenblock as the Administrative Assistant Utility Billing Clerk effective July 21st, 2020. Mr. Linwood.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, we did receive a letter today from Allison Steenblock, our Administrative Assistant Utility Billing Clerk, that she was effective today, giving her notice for July 21st as her last day. With that being said, we'll have another agenda item after this, but we are definitely will miss Allie. She is moving on to some different opportunities, but we'll certainly miss her. She was a really great employee and a nice addition here at the city for the time she was here.
All right, questions from council? All right, if there are no questions, we need a motion to approve the resignation of Allison Steenblock as the Administrative Assistant Utility Billing Clerk effective July 21st, 2020. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Nobody wants, I was gonna say, nobody wants to move this motion. That's always a tough one. So we have a first from member Zerwas. Do we have a second?
I'll reluctantly second.
Second by member Luger. Around the room, please. Member Yeager,
Aye.
member Luger,
Aye.
member Zerwas,
Aye.
and with regrets, Mayor Iverson. Number 21, to authorize the Wyoming Administration Department to proceed with the advertisement and selection process for the Administrative Assistant Utility Billing Clerk position. Mr. Linwood.
Mayor Iverson, members of the council, this completely tied to our last agenda item with the resignation of Ms. Steenblock. We are asking the council for authorization to advertise for this position. We would be starting that process tomorrow, and we would be sending that advertisement to both the city's official paper, the Forest Lake Times, and the League of Minnesota Cities website for advertisement.
All right, questions from council?
Member Nanko Yeager has a question. We had talked in the budget meetings about utility billing being brought back in-house. When do you think Opus's contract will be terminated and that bringing back in-house will happen?
I have had some conversations in regards to the utility that right now, and if we were to move forward on something where we did sign a contract with that entity right now, we're still going through some of those items. We're probably looking at anywhere from 6 to 9 months to do a full implementation of that new software. So that would, if we were to do that tomorrow, so to be dependent upon how quickly we move forward with this item, which probably would be right at the very beginning of 2021. Right now, just based obviously through our budget process, if it was something the city council elected to keep in our 2021 budget. And with that software, we would still, that would still be the intent with that new software to bring that utility billing back in-house, correct?
Okay, and then for that, we would need a clerk to do that.
We would need someone to administer that process correct through this, and we would leave the position as presented still the same, that administrative assistant utility billing clerk, where their time would be spent through those water and sewer tasks and necessary billings and delinquent utilities and assessment roles, things like that. But we would need someone for that position, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, are there any other questions? If not, I will make the first motion to approve the authorization of the Wyoming Administration Department to proceed with advertisement and a selection process for the Administrative Assistant Utility Billing Clerk position. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Member Luker. Around the room, please. Member Zeros,
Aye.
Member Yeager,
Aye.
Member Luker,
Aye.
and Mayor Iverson is an aye, so that does pass. All right, and so we're going to do council reports. We will start with Member Zeros.
Okay. I attended the Sewer Commission Personnel Committee meeting yesterday at Mention City Hall. The list of candidates for the plant superintendent's position has been reduced to 4 candidates, and an interview date was set for either hopefully this Thursday or Friday, July 17th. And I also attended the special sewer commission meeting at 4:30 p.m. yesterday, where the board passed resolution CLS 76/2020, a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of $904,515 general obligation revenue note series 2020A. This is for the PFA loan for improvements to the corridor lift station and improvement for wastewater infrastructure. And that's my report.
Thank you. Let's go, Member Yeager.
Oh, no report, and thank you all out there on YouTube watching us.
All right, Member Luker.
I attended the Park Advisory Commission meeting last night. In addition to discussing the railroad park plan, the PAC also discussed the planning of the development of a tree inventory for the city starting in 2021, which will help identify which trees we have in Wyoming, the biodiversity of the trees, as well as trends in tree disease throughout our community. And so it was I'm looking forward to that development. I believe Public Works will be leading the charge on that. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. I attended the Planning Commission and also the Park Board, the Park Advisory Commission. Things are a little bit slow. A lot of our meetings are canceled that I usually attend. I would like to say this though, I'm excited about how we're moving forward into that 21st century. The storyboards, the tree inventory, just all kinds of things that are really going to make our city really stand out when people want to see what the city of Wyoming is all about. So very excited about what we're doing right now. And then I also want to do a shout out. Stump Out Suicide is still having their event. It's going to be virtual instead. And I don't want to miss out on a chance to promote that, because that is a very big event that happens in our city, and it's very, very important. And I know that they feel with COVID, there's probably more mental health kind of issues going on right now, with loss of jobs and just being not being able to do your usual activities. So I am wanting to promote that, and that event will be August 15th. Again, it's virtual, so check out their website for that. So, and then of course we have not heard from Mr. Erickson yet tonight, and I would really hate to close the meeting without an update from our engineer.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. We have a few things happening. We have the project there on the west side of the freeway, just west of Kettle River. That is off to a start. It is warm and wet, and so it's not making quite the progress that the contractor would like to see, but we are moving forward. We have weekly updates. I know Mr. Linwood is updating weekly social media updates as well, and so the project is moving ahead pretty well. We'd like to see a little better progress, but of course that will play a role with the weather. Hopefully the weather improves here with the rain. And we do have the project there over at Comfort Lake there that we discussed this evening that will be moving forward hopefully by Thursday, I would think, of this week. So we have a few things with construction happening, and we like to see that progress continue.
All right.
Thanks for the opportunity to update.
Thanks, Mr. Erickson. And Mr. Lunan, I know we heard from you. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Because I think you got 5 words in.
No, no, Madam Mayor. There's nothing that I have to add at this time. Just been working on a few of these developments here, but again, the less the attorney has to talk, I think the better the meetings run.
I would agree. All right, I'd like to thank everybody. And with that, Mr. Member Ziras, would you like to make the motion to adjourn?
Yes, I would, Madam Mayor. Motion to adjourn.
Awesome. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have Member Luger second, and I'm just going to call it. All in favor to adjourn? Aye.
Aye.
All right, everybody be safe and healthy, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Take care.
Have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Thank you.